Let's now discuss the latest developments in the Iran war with our guests. Joining me here in the studio in Doha is Abdulla Banndar Al Etaibi, an assistant professor of international affairs at Qatar University, and in the Iranian capital, Mostafa Khoshcheshm, a professor at the University of Applied Sciences in Tehran. Thank you to both of you, professors, for joining us on Al Jazeera. Professor Khoshcheshm, let me start with you in Tehran and this latest threat that's been issued by the IRGC, this ultimatum of 30 days. How should we read this, and what is the goal? I mean, what happens after 30 days if there is no deal with the Americans?
Hello, and thanks for having me again. Well, as a matter of fact, the gathering here in Tehran is that the United States is not serious about talks, and it remains adamant to any kind of offer that Iran might send. And Donald Trump insists on his maximalist demands that he wants 100% of everything. He is still talking about the very same things that he was demanding last year, before the start and after the end of the last war and this war. So he has not changed at all. The kind of literature that he's using shows that he's not serious about the talks. The equipment and the man forces that have been, transited into the region shows that they are preparing for resumption of war. So Iran believes that the United States is looking for a strategy that is recurrence of waves of war every several months or every year. So Iranians do not want that, and they want to establish durable, guaranteed peace. Therefore, they believe that there should be a red line for diplomatic efforts if Donald Trump remains adamant and doesn't do anything constructive towards the talks, because the sea blockade continues, and Iran needs also to take action in order to break off this sea blockade.
Professor Al Etaibi, what's your reading of the situation? Is diplomacy making any progress at all?
Well, not really fully. I think both parties, the Americans and the Iranians, they're not actually serious about the talks. And we see them with the maximum pressure they put on each other at the moment. We see the Iranians submitting their 14 points to the U.S. And they just putting so much pressure on the U.S. with withdrawing troops from the region, and this is contradicting with the rights of these countries in the region to have their own relations with the U.S. and their security measures with the U.S. On the other side, you see the Americans, they want everything basically from the Iranians, and this is not actually going anywhere between the both parties. And this is actually reminds us of the talks that took place before with the deal of 2015. That's actually started almost like years and years and years of talks that were secrets between the U.S., Iran, and France, Germany, and the rest. I think the Iranians want to have a prolonged talks. They want to extend this as long as possible, while the Americans, I don't think President Trump wants to wait.
Okay.
He wants the deal as soon as possible. And this is where actually we are hitting a very stagnation here period between both parties.
Professor Khoshcheshm, Professor Al Etaibi has described some of Iran's demands there as maximalist. Can you tell us more about these key demands in this latest proposal that was sent to the Americans, and which ones are non-negotiable for Tehran?
None of them is negotiable. Like Iran's enrichment right is not negotiable. Iranians believe that the United States has done whatever it could, including decades-long sanctions, and they failed to contain or to destroy the Iranian enrichment program. They also launched two wars so far, using their most powerful bunker busters, GBU-57, and apparently and admittedly they have failed to strike Iran's reserves, enriched reserves. And also they believe that they are entitled to this right, and they have endured the pain and the problems, so they need to enjoy the right. On the other hand, another one is evacuation of the U.S. forces from the region. Yes, my colleague in Doha is right. The regional countries are free to go along with their security arrangements with anyone they want, but they shouldn't have allowed the United States to use their soil as a launch pad and platform to attack Iran.
Right, but as Professor Al Etaibi said, making such a demand is violating the sovereignty of these countries, isn't it?
No, it's not. Of course not. Because as I said, now it's hostile platform. Their territory is a hostile platform towards Iran. They've been killing Iranian civilians, leader, and many generals. On the other hand, when we say we want guaranteed durable peace, what do you think could be the mechanism? The UN Security Council, it's not working at all because they have been using veto power so often and so much that it's not used as an instrument anymore. And Donald Trump shows no respect for international rules and regulations. So when we're talking about guarantees, he doesn't respect anything but force. So Iran needs to take the guarantees in its hand. One of them is evacuation of the U.S. forces from the region, especially now that 11 of their bases out of 13 have been devastated on the southern rims of the Persian Gulf. And also the Iranian new regime of protocols over the Strait of Hormuz. These are the trigger mechanism.
Let's allow Professor Al Etaibi to respond.
The trigger mechanism in the hand of Iran.
All right, Professor Al Etaibi, the evacuation of U.S. forces from this region, Professor Khoshcheshm says that's not negotiable and that's not a violation of the sovereignty of these countries in the region.
I mean, this is the reality we have been living with for the past 47 years. Basically, the Iranians have been the ones who picked to be a revolutionary country, picked to actually to export the revolution. They're the ones who decided to attack the GCC countries in the 1980s. They are the ones who are attacking the countries at the moment. There is no proof of any attacks came from the GCC countries towards Iran. And even when you talk about the international community and the international organizations, we are living in a world, yes, it's governed by power, but we still have to give a chance for international institutions to play the role. And this is one of the things we saw Iran doing. Basically, Iran sent, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Iran sent a message with a few pages to the UN they don't believe in, claiming that so many attacks happened against Iran from the GCC countries. And actually, when we look at the reports, none of them actually giving an exact location of where the attacks took place in Iran. They just mentioning names of flights moving from one country to another, which makes no sense. So I believe that this is the problem we are facing at the moment with the negotiations. The Iranians, they're asking for everything because they know that this is what they want to have. They don't want to have healthy relations with the neighboring countries. And this is actually takes us back to the argument that the American president said. I don't think there is a consensus inside Iran. I think it's IRGC fighting with the president and the foreign minister. And this is division is actually driving the region into more chaos.
All right, Professor Khoshcheshm, I think, doesn't agree with you on that. But hopefully we can discuss this a little later here on Al Jazeera. We've run out of time on this news hour, but I'm happy to bring you both back on a little later. Professor Mostafa Khoshcheshm and Professor Al Etaibi joining me here in the studio. Thank you both for being on the news hour.